Hey, what is happening, bulls and bears? Back with another dose of economic reality. My name is JJ. You're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust, and we've got another packed episode today. There's so much happening in the economy, in the financial system, with the banks, with your money, my money. Let's go ahead and get started right now. Listen to this. The three large banks that failed in March of this year, 2023, all three of those were not on the FDIC's problem list. And this comes out of Wall Street on Parade. So FDIC didn't have these banks on their watch list from last fall. They had a list of banks to be concerned about or to watch. And keep in mind, these were the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures in the history of the United States. So we're supposed to trust these people, the people at FDIC and these other authority figures, that they know what they're doing. Pretty amazing here. When the FDIC released its quarterly problem bank list for the quarter ending December 31st, 2022, it showed just 39 banks were a problem with combined assets of $47.5 billion. Now, that may seem like a lot, but that was actually a rosy scenario. When Silicon Valley Bank blew up, it was $212 billion in assets put into FDIC receivership. 2 days later, Signature Bank failed, $110 billion in assets, right? So they just had about $47 billion worth of assets in their sights as far as being in trouble, right? So with this type of incompetence, whatever you want to call it, failure, willful ignorance, in place, I mean, can we expect things to actually get better going forward, or should we brace for a hard landing? It may not be a fast landing. This thing's really taken a long time to play out, but is anyone here bracing for some sort of miraculous recovery where all of a sudden the banks are going to stop failing and they're going to regain all this capital because people are going to have so much money, they're going to deposit their money in these banks and the banks are going to be well off and well positioned? Well, if you do feel like that, please let me know down below what's going to trigger that, because I haven't talked to anybody here in comments. I haven't read any of your comments, anyone with that rosy of a picture. However, I do get emails from my friend Richard, who basically tells me that I'm wrong about everything, that he went to SeaWorld and people are drinking $25 beers. So therefore, the economy is doing wonderfully, which I think most of us here would agree. It's ridiculous when you have the ability as a consumer to just take on debt. And even if you get to the point where you can't pay it off, if you have to file bankruptcy, a few months later, you're going to get another credit card, right? So we're in a economy here of endless consumption. You could be saddled with debt, but yet somehow you'll find a bank to give you a credit card so you can go out and buy more stuff and pay for 20. I don't believe the $25 beer story from my critic that keeps emailing me, but even expensive things that people shouldn't waste their money on, like $5 coffees. I think that's ridiculous. When I do go get a coffee, I typically just get a black coffee with about 1/3 milk, usually some sort of milk substitute, non-dairy. Anyways, I usually get the cheapest kind. If I'm really tired and I have a long drive or something like that, I need a shot of caffeine, I need a strong coffee. Sometimes I'll go to Starbucks in that particular scenario, but I try not to go get these tricked out drinks where you have what's that? What is that? You have the Cool Whip on top, and you have all the sweeteners in there and the flavors, and pretty much it's all fake flavors, right? So I try not to get those. Yeah, they taste good, but it's kind of like drinking a milkshake with coffee, like it's a dessert, So I just like to get the cheapest kind when I do go to these places. I try not to go there very often, because if you just spend $5 a day on something that one drink, I mean, you're talking $1,000 a year. So let's see, $5 a day for 10 days is $50. 10, 20, 30, you're talking about $150 a month just for one drink if you pay $5 a day for a drink, right? Pretty crazy. Anyways, let's move on here back to the bank situation. So the FDIC failed on all fronts. Is anyone here surprised? Let's see your surprise face. Oh, the FDIC was wrong. I don't believe it. They're the experts. Those are the people with the college degrees, and they're supposed to know exactly what's going on. Folks, the news gets worse. Listen to this next story. Still on the topic of failed banks. What would you think would happen to a CEO of a failed bank? Seems like it would be harder to get a job out there when you completely failed and the bank that you're the CEO of basically became insolvent and had to get put into FDIC receivership. But no, in our wacky world, just the opposite happens here. This is out of MSN here. Former CEO of failed bank, First Republic, lands on her feet with a new job. And check out the job that she got here. While her past employer went on to make the mistakes that eventually led to its historic collapse, they're saying the employer, not her. So even though she's the CEO, they're just saying her employer, which is the bank. But she was the CEO of the bank. Not her fault, though. Now, listen to this. It has now emerged that the Princeton educated former CEO, her last name is Irkin, has been appointed to run the central bank of Turkey. I'm not kidding you. The central bank of Turkey. So a CEO of a failed bank in the U.S. now gets to run a central bank of an entire country. I mean, you can't make this up. This is as insane as it gets, but really, it shouldn't be a surprise because things like this, I mean, everybody should know that, these banks, I think they knew what they were doing. I think there's a lot of people that made a lot of money that work for these banks. At the end of the day, they don't care how many people get fired, how many people get laid off, because they're still going to get their huge bonuses and they're going to move on to the next cushy job, either in Wall Street or running an entire central bank in this case. So here's where my head's at on news like this. On one hand, on the surface, it seems absurd. It seems impossible. Why would anyone that failed so miserably get such a big, important job? But on the other hand, nothing surprises me anymore because I know this whole economy, it's phony, it's engineered. These failed banks, they didn't make a mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were loaning out money. You mean to tell me that anyone out there believes that these banks didn't know what they were doing? That they didn't have enough cash in deposits? Oh, we gave out all these loans and we didn't have enough money in deposits to cover the loans when people couldn't pay them back, when interest rates increased. And when people started withdrawing their money out, we didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know that 1 and 1 equals 2, right? So if anybody believes that this wasn't done on purpose, and I think there's a lot more bank failures headed. Look at my previous report. There's a study group out there, a research group that says 4,000 plus banks are likely to collapse. Go back to my previous video and check that out. That's a very important update there that we did. Wild times, folks, and we got some foreclosure news coming up here. Foreclosures are really starting to ramp up here, just like I said, going into summer and into the fall. It's going to be even crazier, more madness coming in the housing market. But first, let's talk about this inflation number. It's coming out today on Tuesday, June 13th. It's likely to show inflation cooled. And here's the tricky, deceptive headlines that they're putting out. It's just one example. Financial Times, U.S. inflation said to have cooled to the lowest level since early 2021. Now, when you hear that, you think, wow, prices are back to where they were in 2021. No, the rate of increase has slowed to where it was in 2021, but prices are still going up higher, right? So, in other words, the bully on the playground yesterday stole $5 of your lunch money. Today, the bully on the playground only took $4 from you. So you lost $4, but that's good news because it's better than the $5 that you lost yesterday. You see what's going on here? So bad news is actually good news. Most people will just read the headline. They won't even look into it unless say, oh, things are getting better. Maybe I'll go out and get a 1% loan from Rocket Mortgage and go out and buy a house. All right. So interesting, right? Here's another article here. This is out of Economic Collapse. And here's 11 signs that our economic problems are accelerating, right? I give you guys 5, 6, 7 every episode, but here's 11 signs all in one place. Let me just read you a couple of these. A lot of these won't be a surprise here, but here is one that kind of caught my eye. Foreclosures are up 14% year over year. 14% year over year. That may not seem like a lot until you read the next line. Just from 1 month to the next, from April to May, they went up 7%. So in April, they were only up 7% year over year. They went up another 7%. Now we're up 14% year over year. From what this article says, this is out of Atom Data Solutions. So what's going to happen to reverse this trend, right? So are people going to get all this money now to pay down their mortgages and to stop this foreclosure surge from getting worse? If you think that's going to happen, please again let me know what's going to happen down in the comments. Helicopter money. Remember, when they do come out with helicopter money, we're talking about the central bank. Do they give it to the people or do they give it to the institutions? So I think you know the answer to that one. We saw what happened with the foreclosure tsunami in 2008. The banks got the bailouts, the people not so much, and a lot of people that were homeowners didn't end up being homeowners that long, after that collapse here. And here's the headline out of Atom Data Solutions. U.S. foreclosure activity sees spike in May 2023. We're almost halfway through June. So in the middle of July, next month, we're going to see how much worse it got from May to June. It's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, we're going to have the numbers right here for you. So please make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you hit that notification bell. Interesting out of New York here, people say I don't have much good news. Here's some good news for people working in the so-called gig economy. Minimum wage for New York City delivery workers rises from $7 to $18 an hour. First of all, how did they get by? How did they survive on $7 an hour? A lot of them just basically relied on tips. And when you're a delivery person and you don't get a tip and you're making $7 an hour, that's really sad there. It's probably, hopefully that doesn't happen too often where people order food. I think a lot of people don't realize how little these servers or delivery drivers make. The same thing with the server at a restaurant. If you don't leave a tip, those people are going to be hurting trying to just survive off of their wages. I mean, we're talking close to minimum wage, but $7 an hour, that's insane. So good news, it's been bumped up now to $18 an hour, so more than double, and that's going to take effect in July. But how do these people survive off $7 an hour? My goodness. Very interesting. More layoffs. Speaking of delivery and food delivery, Grubhub is laying off 15% of corporate workforce, which equals about 400 employees. Another big layoff, 15%. My question is, corporate workforce, why do you have so many corporate workers that you don't need? So you could just lay off 400 corporate workers and the company still remains operational. What were those people doing, and why are they so unnecessary now? 400. Grubhub has struggled to gain market share from rival companies such as DoorDash and Uber Eats. I was getting some sandwiches from a sub shop about 6 months ago, and there were 2 or 3 people that came in there from these different delivery services. They go in there to pick up the food, to go deliver it, and the guy that running the place was like, no, some other delivery driver picked that up. So they had some sort of app that's supposed to tell them where they can go get food to pick up and deliver, but somehow the app was telling several different drivers at once to go pick up the same order, the same food from the same restaurant. And the guy kept on telling the people walking in, I'm sitting there waiting for my sandwich, and the owner kept on telling the people coming in, no, somebody came and got that 15 minutes ago. And somebody else came in from a different company, and then 2 of the guys were from the same company. I can't remember if it was Grubhub, DoorDash, or what. And the whole thing just seemed like chaos. I felt really sorry for these guys. They were mostly younger, people, but it was a sight to see how they just came in, and the whole ordering system was chaotic, right? So please tip those guys. If you have extra few extra dollars, if you're doing pretty good, please tip your servers. Tip your waiters. I feel like I'm a singer in a band or something like that. Tip your waiters. The more you drink, the better we sound. Oh, gosh. All right, let's talk about Target still getting pummeled because the rainbow clothing. Wow. So Target's still getting pounded. The stock now down to a 52 or close to a 52-week low. Target market cap loses $15.7 billion, billion with a B. So now some of the locations are moving the rainbow line of clothing to the back of the store or getting rid of it completely. What a couple reports I read had said. So now you have the rainbow community. They're mad. Why are you hiding our merchandise? It's insanity, folks. It's madness. So the people that aren't shopping at Target, where are they going? Are they going to Walmart? There's not much other big department stores out there to go to. What if Walmart does the rainbow clothes? Then where are you going to go? Out here, the big department stores are Walmart. I'm talking about California, Walmart and Target. When I lived back east, we had a lot of stores called Meijer, and that was kind of like a Walmart or a Target. Big department store, a lot of different departments. But we don't have Meijer out here in California. Pretty interesting, at least not in Southern California that I've seen. So not much else out there. What if two or three of the biggest, market giants do the same similar type of merchandising or advertising or product placement in this case? Where are you going to go, right? So this is the danger of having big monopolies, mega companies that control most of the market, right? It's good to have options. It's good to have variety. That way, if one or two or even five companies, go crazy or do something that you don't like or raise their prices, anything like that, you'll have more options. But we're, getting into a point where there's not many other options out there. Look what happened when was it Sears bought Kmart or Kmart bought Sears? I think it was Kmart bought Sears, but then Kmart failed. Sears failed. So we have companies buying companies that end up failing, and that's even less options out there. I remember I used to get appliances from Sears at pretty good deals, even better than Best Buy in some cases when they had, sales. Even my dryer that I have in my garage is from Sears, and it's about 7-year-old dryer now, still works great. So point is, more options are better. The more retailers you have competing with each other, the better off you are as a consumer, because they're going to compete for your business, right? So, but it's going the opposite direction, right? There's less new companies starting. In fact, bankruptcies are soaring. Even at this point now, we're at the most bankruptcies that we've seen over the first 5 months of the year since 2010, and that was the midst of the financial crisis. And we're on pace to equal that, but things could accelerate, and we could definitely surpass the business bankruptcy tsunami that we saw in 2010 and 2023 could end up being a lot worse. And, so as usual, I'm going to say it, keep stacking, careful with your money, eyes in the back of your head on a swivel, be careful out there. A lot of crime, a lot of desperate people, poverty rising, a lot of theft. Watch it when you're at the store with your family or even by yourself. Be careful because more people out there getting desperate, and that means more danger. So hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for being here, for supporting this channel. A couple quick shout outs to the people that gave me a very nice tip to help keep this channel running. First, Pax OR32. Thank you very much. I've seen you here before, Pax. Thank you. I appreciate it. DJ Jojo, the DJ Jojo, thank you for the kind tip. Maria Rivero, another, you've been so kind with your generous tips, donations. Silver Dragon, thank you very much. Here's what Silver Dragon had to say. Remember when we talked about the crashing stock for Carvana? Thanks. This is what he said, Silver Dragon. Thanks. You let me know of the Carvana crash. This was months ago. He bought the stock at $4, and now it's $14, a 240% profit. That's what I'm talking about here. So when you see a massive sell-off, there's people dip buying Target right now, which they think is the dip. I would have to wait for a lower price for Target, but he said, thanks. I sold half of my investment and secured my principal back, and he still owns the other half. So he sold half. So now even if the stock crashes again, he's already covered his investment, so to speak. So now he can't lose, and now it's basically only upside potential here. Worst case scenario, breaking even. Another super thanks, Rick Endfeld. Oh, Rick Endfed. I like that last name. Endfed, get it? Very nice. All right, everybody. Thank you to those people especially, but thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you very much. Big love, people. Keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.